Hello everyone, welcome to this news hour on Equinoxe television, live from my headquarters in Cameroon's economic capital, Douala. I am Bable Jonathan. 2 children aged 7 and 9 subjected to rape allegedly by a 39-year-old man here in Cameroon's economic capital, or rather in Melong, in the Mongo division of the Littoral region of the Republic of Cameroon. The suspect is now behind bars, and we should talk about that in this newscast. Health experts say the death rate from AIDS, tuberculosis and malaria has tripled in the past years, and they are attributing this to the impact of the coronavirus pandemic on global response to other public health challenges. Meet our guest in some few seconds. A 39-year-old man is behind bars after he was accused of raping 2 children in Melong in the Mongo division, Littoral region of the Republic of Cameroon. Jules was apprehended by gendarme officers after several reports received by the security forces. Magic and Gabriel reports.
9-year-old Orel and 7-year-old Aisha were the rape victims presented to the press this Thursday at the Melong Gendarmerie Brigade. I was going to the restroom one day and my father called me into his room. He made love to me. He came into the room and slept a bit. Then he woke up later to ask me not to open my mouth. He then raped me. According to reports, the sisters have been raped on several occasions by their own father, Jules, aged 39, even though he denied the allegations. I didn't have an intercourse with them. Their mother abandoned me with them after they were born. I am never home. The absence of these kids from school for several days attracted the teacher's attention. In a chat between the teacher and Aisha, the teacher was able to know what has been happening before they reported the case to a non-governmental organization who took the lead in the affair. Parents are advised to talk freely and listen to the kids when they complain. According to the commander of the Gendarmerie Brigade of Melong, at one time, one of Jules' daughter was raped by his neighbor, but Jules accepted to take a bribe of 15,000 francs CFA. The kids have been raped by his neighbor, but he accepted to have an amicable agreement with them to close the case. The first medical test made on the 2 kids shows that 7-year-old Aisha had already contracted chlamydia. Jules has been transferred to the Court of First Instance in Konsamba for justice to take its course.
Bad roads, a problem hitting several parts of the Republic of Cameroon, from the big cities to the hinterlands. And a case in point in this newscast is the Mabanda neighborhood in the Douala 4 subdivision. Several roads running across that neighborhood, or that part of the country's economic capital, is in a deplorable state, as we hear in this report compiled by Fomi and Sonsanda.
Welcome to Government Bilingual High School Mabanda in Bonaberi in the Douala 4 subdivision, where the road network has everything short of a 21st century road system in an economic capital city. Driving in and out of Mabanda is a veritable nightmare, and top on the list of victims are students.
Students suffer a lot, and we have a Setik Mabanda, we have GBHS Mabanda. There were so many primary schools. Those students, even they are really tired. Sometimes when rain falls, students will not even go to school because there will be no way for them to carry their children and bring.
Just like school kids, parents and teachers have sad stories of the Mabanda road network.
The impact that the state of this road is giving to us is terrible. Those teachers that have cars, to bring their cars inside here and go back with it all the time, they always have breakdowns. As regards entering here by students and other teachers without cars, in fact, when you stand outside there around Cemetier to enter here, it is difficult to enter because the prices that the motorbikes men give to us.
The Mabanda road problem has been on for several years without a solution, despite efforts from the local population.
I've been here for 22 years and we have suffered on this road throughout. People, they struggle to, at times they try to arrange the roads, but when rain falls, everything is washed away.
From the government bilingual high school Mabanda to the market, the bad road network has dealt a serious blow to roadside businesses, and the local population say the situation has now become unbearable.
The two-day workshop chaired by the Minister Delegate at the Ministry of Economic Planning and Regional Development of the Republic of Cameroon, Paul Tassong, have called on governments to take commitments and action instead of making declarations. And this was during that workshop that was focused on the 2030, the development plan of the Republic of Cameroon. We have details in this report compiled by Mbustela and Bamenda.
The security threats faced by the state of Cameroon in the far north, the east, the northwest and the southwest regions have had damaging effects on the management of the state and livelihoods of the population, reason why setbacks were recorded in the growth and employment strategy of the period 2010 to 2019. The Minister Delegate to the Minister of the Economy, Planning and Regional Development, Paul Tassong, was speaking in Bamenda while on a working visit aimed at sharing the contents of the National Development Strategy that will now replace the Growth and Employment Strategy and for the period between 2020 and 2030.
We looked at the challenges that the country faced at the time we elaborated the strategy. And in the new strategy, as approved by the head of state, solutions are proposed on how to stem this kind of situations.
The professionalization of education and the valorization of local produce are key areas participants at the workshop say government must make commitments and not declarations.
All the work we're doing here has to be anchored on a sound educational system. That in the domain of incentives, let Cameroonian publishers receive government subvention.
The 2 days working visit also took Minister Paul Tassong to the University of Bamenda, a place where the human capital needed to push this vision from paper to reality is prepared, but plagued by infrastructural and security challenges.
We drew the minister's attention to the reality, which is that we're a very young institution, and we have infrastructural challenges. Hope that the minister will take back our infrastructural needs and integrate them into this national development plan, especially the reconstruction plan for the northwest and the southwest regions.
One of the goals of the National Development Strategy between the period 2020 to 2030 is to improve governance, strengthen the performance of public action, improve the business climate, strengthen community life, decentralization, and a relationship of trust between citizens and the nation. But many a Cameroonian think that for the latter to be achieved, promises like the Ring Road, the Bamenda-Babaju Road, the hydroelectrification project at the Menchu Fall, the Womb Area Development Authority, to name but these, must be realized.
The death rate of HIV/AIDS, malaria and tuberculosis has tripled in the past years, and health officials are attributing this to the impact of the coronavirus pandemic on the global response to all the health challenges. Details in this report compiled by Immaculate Fogwe.
Prior to COVID-19, tuberculosis, HIV and AIDS and hepatitis were the leading infection killer diseases in Cameroon. The coming of COVID has resulted to millions of infections and hundreds of thousands of deaths. Due to this upsurge, all attention is now focused on COVID, with little attention now given to the treatment, prevention and control of existing diseases, which has resulted to more deaths.
How COVID-19 should be taken into account in the context of malaria endemic countries. So this is, for example, something very critical, because leaving out neglected tropical diseases, for example, and malaria because of COVID-19 is an issue which has been debated.
Lockdowns and restrictions on gatherings are some of the factors that have contributed to the drop of living standards, making some patients unable to afford for their treatment, a situation which is putting doctors on the hot seat.
You have to decide how to treat patients who we have to treat first. Do we treat those who are in need? What is essential? We care about those who do not have means to be treated.
The second edition of the Symposium on Science and Ethics was an opportunity for these professionals to address some of the challenges the health sector is facing in Cameroon.
And in a foreign news roundup today, Senaze brings to us updates on the crisis in the Tigray province in Ethiopia. And the Tigray region has been in crisis for several months today, almost a year. And of course, he will also be taking us to Sudan, talking about the post-coup d'etat crisis in that part of the African continent. Please report.
The UN's report covers abuses from early November 2021, when the Ethiopian government declared unilateral ceasefire had failed. The report details extrajudicial killings, torture, sexual and gender-based violence, violations against refugees and forced displacement of civilians. The investigation did not blame or exclude any specific party. It rather mentioned that all parties, including those from Amhara and Eritrea, allied with the Ethiopian government, had committed violations of international human rights, humanitarian and refugee law, some of which may amount to war crimes and crimes against humanity. Some Tigrayan and other non-government sources have raised doubts about the impartiality of the report, and questions have also arisen following the unexplained dismissal of the UN Human Rights Officer, Soni Onyegbula, last month. But the UN has reaffirmed its impartiality. UN Human Rights Chief Michelle Bachelet said on Wednesday during a news conference on the report that the team did not come under pressure from the government, adding that restricted access to some areas of Tigray made it difficult for the team to assess abuses. Elsewhere, Sudan's Prime Minister Abdallah Hamdok, who is still under house arrest, though allowed to meet with foreign envoys, has said on Wednesday negotiations are ongoing to restructure the transitional government after last week's coup. He assured the Sudanese people that the country would achieve its democratic transition. Other officials say the Prime Minister should be assigned in order to form the cabinet. UN representatives have been mediating between the military and pro-democracy leaders.
Talking Point is up next. Our guest today, Tarian Enobika Tabe, is a journalist, publisher of the Advocate newspaper, executive director of the Cameroon Association of Media Professionals. You're welcome.
Thank you very much, Babila. It's a pleasure being here with you guys.
Right, we are talking about one of the ills that seems to be causing a lot of trouble, not only in Cameroon, but across the Central African sub-region and even across the continent. And we're talking about hate speech. Hate speech, how bad is this problem today in Cameroon?
I think it is very bad. I mean, it did not start today, but it has come to a point where it has become a way of life of so many Cameroonians. It is bad, so much so that all hands must be on deck for its eradication. I think it's that very bad. It's very bad.
And with the conflicts in the country and the political instability in the country, the problem is becoming more crucial.
Yes, definitely. Hate speech stems from a lot of what we call conflicts. It's a product of conflicts. So it is not surprising that with the Anglophone crisis, with the crisis up north of the country, with the COVID pandemic, and of course with so many other conflicts that we have in the country, it is very normal that hate speech is supposed to be existing now. But then we have the responsibility to make sure that we fight as much as we can to eradicate that.
And we're talking about hate speech online and offline, in the media, on the internet, and also in the neighborhoods. Let me just take this quick example. There was a day I listened to a woman, an aged woman, talking to her daughter somewhere here in Douala, and she said, "Le bamilike sont trop sales. On doit les chasser qui rentrent chez eux." I was like
it is
taken aback by this kind of statement coming from a woman.
It is that bad, you know. It is really that bad because people take it as a means of insulting people, but we don't know the repercussions of that, what it will lead to, because hate speech is not just abusive. It is language which is abusive with intention to harm, with intention to fuel or promote a conflict or to harm some other person. So sometimes you see people using words which they think are just quarter words, but in reality these are words which are not supposed to be used, languages are not supposed to be used, even sign actions which are not supposed to be used.
And we have heard some of these kind of statements coming from authorities, calling others rats and things like that in the northwest, southwest, but more precisely in the southwest, which is where you are in the
True. We recall once when the governor of the southwest region during the uprising described Anglophones as dogs, and if they come out again, he's going to, shoot them off. And I also want to throw the blame back on that to the media that propagated that. Sometimes it is not everything that you report. For example, I'm not justifying that what he said was right, but then what if what he said was not reported? It may not have also
gone viral.
There's a means with which you quell that. The journalist may simply have asked the governor, Mr. Governor, did you really say they are dogs? He may have another reason to say or some other thing to say. So I think it's also a matter of our responsibility, our corporate social responsibility as Cameroonians and as journalists, not to propagate hate when it is spread.
Right, and we're talking about the prevention of hate speech related conflicts, not only in Cameroon but in Central Africa. And there's a platform that has been put in place, and you're coordinating that platform, and that platform is working on promoting sustainable development and of course fighting these ills, because hate speech is an ill is a hindrance to sustainable development. Tell us more about this platform and how you intend to fight conflicts that are generating from hate speech.
Well, it's a matter of a coalition, a matter of a consensus. We met in Douala for 5 days. We're brought together by representatives of international organizations in the Central African sub-region. We had partners like UNESCO, we had partners like ECAS, Economic Community of Central African States, we had MINUSCA, we had the United Nations Center for Democracy and Human Rights for Central Africa. They thought it wise that it's about time that we compare the level of hate speech in Cameroon with that of other countries in the Central African sub-region, so that we can find a common ground, a common solution to that. And one of the means with which we could do that is to form a synergy where we could share experiences, where we should share best practices, where we should share the difficulties that we face in each of the countries, and put them together and come out with a blueprint of solutions which we are going to use in combating hate speech and its very, very dangerous effects.
Now, at the level of journalists, that you talked about journalists, media organs, proud to what you just said now, and then at the level of individuals in the society, what are some of the things that people can do at their individual levels to be able to put an end, or better still reduce or cap the rate of hate speech in the social media, traditional media in the society?
Before coming to that, I want to remind promoters of hate that hate is punishable and is criminal under Cameroon law, which means that if you are found guilty of propagating hate speech, you are liable to jail. And it is even double if you are a civil servant, or you are a traditional authority, or you are an authority, somebody in power, because you are expected to know about the laws. So if you know the law and you still go and propagate hate speech, your punishment is doubled. We also have the National Communication Council. We also have the National Commission for Bilingualism and Multiculturalism, which are institutions which are struggling as much as possible to fight hate. So what are we supposed to do as citizens of this country? The first thing is that it is not every information that you share. You should be able to dissect whether this information is going to be for good or for bad. If it is for bad, you don't share that. If it's for good, then you share. Because you who shares hate is equal to the person who created the hate content. So there is nothing like, it is forwarded as received. Okay, you are part of the trouble because you have caused another person to see. Because the essence is that promoters of hate have one reason to harm. So the more people they harm, the more satisfied they are. So what do? Do you block them from attaining their goals, or you support them in attaining their goals? These are the kind of things that our organizations which are together are struggling to fight. There are a lot of organizations which are doing this. I want to say that one of those organizations is called Defy Hate Now, which is working seriously hard to defy hate as they are known. We have other organizations like UNESCO.
Think before you click.
The Think Before You Click hashtag has gone viral, and it is part of their project. So we think that it is not a fight for today that will end. It's like an advocacy. I know what I always say, that advocacy is not stagnant. Advocacy is not a point of an end point. We advocate today and we'll leave it for another generation to come and advocate till we get the desired results.
Advocating to get the desired results as far as hate speech is concerned. Now, when you look at the Cameroonian society today, with much of the hate speech coming from politicians who seem to be using it for political gains, for political objectives, for political maneuvers, what do you think should be done at that level? Because much of the hate speech seems to be generating from political speech.
Yes, like I said a while ago, it is obvious, and Babila, I bet you we have not seen hate yet. We're seeing hate now because it is a kind of intercultural hate. By the time we get to elections, during the electoral period, we have a different form of it is called political. And that is the point where we have to take our chance, because like I used to teach in many of my trainings, that we are in between the second to the last level of the pyramid of hate. If we don't control that, we're going to get into a point where we cannot stand in this country, where citizens are going to fight against each other, and then it's going to be something which we cannot control anymore. So what I think is that let us put heads together and share love. Okay, let us share love, and for example, the most recent of all of them is the Northwest Southwest divide. There is a lot of hate, so much so that you can't control that anymore. So sometimes I usually sit and I say, but what could be the solution? If not that we need to share love. It's just about sharing love and killing hate. That's much we can do to ourselves and to this country.
Share love and kill hate. Tarian Enobi Katabe, Executive Director of the Cameroon Association of Media Professionals, publisher of The Advocate newspaper. Thank you for your time.
You're most welcome. It's a pleasure being with you, and very happy to be on your platform once again.
Thanks, ladies and gentlemen, for staying with us. That's it for this edition of the 6 p.m. Primetime Newscast on Equinoxe Television. Coming up next, live from Cameroon's political capital, a press dispute. And after that, Serge Lalonde will be yours with Equinoxe. Stay with us.